Terrence Shannon Jr. is having his long-awaited breakout college season after transferring to Illinois. This is Floor and Ceiling. Let's break him down. Shannon, the 4-year wing, comes in at 6'7", 215 pounds. He'll be 23 years old for his rookie season in the NBA, but in my eyes is a safe floor prospect who could have immediate value. We'll get into why, starting with his outside shooting. To be clear, this is something to monitor and track with Shannon. TSJ is a high-volume shooter in his role for Illinois right now, launching about 6 threes a game. Some nights, he shot almost 10 or more threes. As we think about his NBA projection, it's unlikely that he'll take as many shots at the next level, or at least not in the same context. This Illinois offense requires a lot from Shannon as its focal point on offense, whereas an NBA team is more likely to view him as a rotation wing. As of today, Shannon is shooting about 36% from deep. Half of his shots are threes, and almost 4 in 5 of his makes are assisted. That number will fluctuate, which is why we'll have to continue to see what percentage Shannon ends the season with. But I believe in his potential as a floor spacer. Right now, Shannon is at his best in my opinion as a stationary shooter. He has a sweet stroke, although he has to work on holding his follow-through more often, and he's got some legit range on his triple. Shannon is able to get into his 3 on balance in spot-ups, in transition, and with defenders in his face. From time to time, he can also create his own shot from deep. Now, this is not something to expect nightly, but Shannon will pull up off the dribble if he's feeling hot. Shannon likes to get into his jumper off of hang dribbles, and he's most comfortable operating moving to the left side of the floor. The question with Shannon is how quickly his shooting translates to the NBA. Like I've been saying, I buy into his potential from deep, but it's also true that Shannon's only season in college shooting over 37% from deep was his junior season. The sample size 4 years in is not small, and Shannon's trend is going up as far as him making threes. But this is also far from definitive. He's going to need to make more of these shots at the next level, and we'll get into why very shortly. However, Shannon can have some rough misses from deep. To his credit, Shannon is a confident shot taker, and he never stops shooting. At the same time, he can be a little one-dimensional from deep. Most of his looks in Illinois' offense are created by others, so it's Shannon's job to move around, stay ready, and take some threes that are smothered or require quick triggers. Now, this will be necessary in the NBA as well, but Shannon will be surrounded by other tools. When he has to create his own offense right now, honestly, it doesn't always look smooth. But I think more discipline, for example, Shannon can still get rushed into his shot, or he can get sped up with his release, as well as a more honed in role where he's being set up with easy looks by other playmakers, is going to address any concerns that come with these misses right now. For example, I'm not sure he's going to be taking these looks off the dribble. Most of Shannon's usage in the NBA is going to come from deep, so let's get into how else he can be effective and what else he needs to keep growing in. Part of Shannon's offensive role is going to have to be attacking closeouts. As a floor spacer, especially at the NBA level, you must do something else at an acceptable level to be a versatile piece for your team. These clips are not one-for-one translations, but I think they showcase ideas of what Shannon can do in this type of role. However, Shannon has never been an efficient or really a plentiful mid-range shooter. There are some limitations to his game, so it depends on how we see them. Do we focus more on the reliance on others to create for the 22-year-old Chicago native, or would we rather look at how the NBA mostly prefers pure outside shooting, along with finishing at the rim, which we're about to get into, instead of pull-ups from the mid-range? At 6'7", Shannon is a strong athlete, so I definitely think he can get downhill and punish defenses when they run him off the three-point line. He has some growth to do in this area, more on that in a bit, but the Illinois wing is forceful getting to the rim, especially once he gets to his preferred left hand. Shannon gets to the free throw line 8 times for 40 minutes, so he can finish strong at the basket and he doesn't mind playing physical. We see that right here in this clip, but he could use some more finesse. Something that Shannon is really going to have to work on is his poise in the open court. Until now, his finishing hasn't been too affected by this as he's shooting 70% at the rim, But that's on small sample size this year, and I think what Shannon is guilty of is playing at one speed too often. When he's attacking the rim, the 4-year stud can struggle to change directions and speed. His handle is not bad, but it can be a little loose, and that can be a concern when Shannon gets out of control as he's driving into the paint. It's not so much that Shannon cannot get to the rim, but it's more so that he's a little bit like a bull in a china shop when he's storming downhill. I want to see Shannon keep working on playing at multiple speeds, throwing in some hezzies, maybe some changes of direction, and cut down on his turnovers. He's also predictable wanting to go left. Shannon can get by on his handle at the college level, but I think there's more to do before it fully carries over to the NBA. Even then, I expect it would mostly be in 1 or 2 dribbles with maybe some open court stuff, like Mikal Bridges. Shannon is more someone who should keep the ball moving, rather than making the final pass. He likes to try this pass going baseline and firing it to the corner shooter, but he's yet to perfect it. I'm not all the way out on Shannon as a facilitator, but this is more to say that his ceiling as a passer is limited. Honestly though, that might not be a massive problem, especially given the role that I have in mind for him. He's going to be a low volume floor spacer who can make some decisions on offense, and right now he can make some basic reads getting downhill. Again, I'm looking at this for how he can attack closeouts given his 3-point prowess. The Illinois wing can get into the paint using his frame and speed, which then forces defenses to rotate over, and Shannon can make some obvious passes. He can find his teammates who fill the lanes. Or I like when he plays with his head up and finds his shooters on the wings. Shannon is a safe passer. Once in a while, he makes a more complicated read, such as a skip pass, and it is worth mentioning that the 6'6" senior has slightly more assists than turnovers, 30 to 26. But like I said, he's more of a playmaker who's better suited to staying within a few dribbles and making reads to his strong side of the floor. Down the other end of the floor, I like Terrence Shannon Jr.'s potential as a positional defensive playmaker. Size matters in the NBA, and at his size, Shannon has prototypical measurements for the wing position. Right now, I think he's at his best guarding 2s and 3s, but he could definitely switch onto point guards at times and probably bother some smaller 4s. Shannon competes and he plays super tough on defense. He's got a strong, chiseled frame, and he has the awareness that comes from having played 4 years in big game situations. I like this play from him versus UCLA. Shannon starts on Jalen Clark, seamlessly switches to David Singleton, again to Jaime Jaquez to front and deny him the ball, and finally Shannon fights over the seal to get the block at the rim. Or here, it's just a fundamentally strong play with a disciplined closeout that ends in Illinois getting the ball back. Shannon always stays engaged down this side of the floor, such as here on this play where he fronts at first and then he rotates to deny the baseline drive. So on top of his defensive recognition and his motor and his multiple efforts, Shannon can also understand how to leverage his athletic tools. The Illinois man has a wingspan over 6'8", which is not super long for his position at 6'7", but Shannon makes up for that because he covers so much ground with his explosiveness. When he moves laterally, Shannon can explode into passing lanes almost at will. He has quick, snappy movements when he leaves his feet, and Shannon will most definitely come up with some steals and blocks. 4 years now into his college experience and now at Illinois after having left Texas Tech, I'm all the way in on Shannon as an NBA draft prospect. Terrence Shannon Jr. has my attention as a second-round pick, and it all starts on offense. Now, at Illinois, he's asked to do a lot, about 7 threes a night. But in the NBA, once he's just one of many tools on a championship contending team, and he's also someone who is getting a lot more streamlined looks rather than having to shoot off of movement or out of pull-ups at times, then I do expect all of the good in Shannon's shooting to come out. Down the other end of the floor, Shannon's sure he doesn't excel at any one particular thing on defense, but he's solid all around. He has the size and athleticism and the length to sort of guard up and down positions. I do envision him mostly at the 2 and the 3, but I do think he'll be able to guard some 1s and some 4s. But what I love the most about Shannon is that he understands when to be and where to be. He'll be 23 by the time he's a rookie in the NBA, but that comes with plenty of big game experience, and you can count on Shannon to know how to utilize it. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a comment telling me what you think of Terrence Shannon Jr., and as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe. Take care, and I'll catch you guys next time.